Right, good morning, welcome back. Now today on the big 1300, after doing the fork oil change, it's time to put the forks back in and reassemble the front end. But rather than just do it and go for a test ride, instead I want to do something a little more. I want to make a modification that's both practical and efficient, but at the same time decorative and enhances the look of the bike. I'll show you what I mean. And it doesn't get more practical than fork gaiters. Now these have been fitted to motorcycles since time began to protect the chrome fork sliders from road dirt and debris. And we don't just see them on off-road machines either. They're now popping up from the factory on road bikes, even cruisers, things like the Harley Davidson Street Bob, now from the factory fitted with fork gaiters. It's not just a practical thing for keeping road debris and corrosion off your forks. It's actually a bit of a fashion accessory now for so many bikes. Now, okay, this CB1300 is neither a dirt bike or a fashionable cruiser. It's just a big muscle bike, a road bike, and I'm going to use it all year round. And that's why I want to fit gaiters to it, because it's in the winter time that you're going to build up that hard crust of road debris on the fork slider that gets pushed in and out of the seal and eventually lacerates it and makes them leak. So that's why I'm going to put gaiters on this. Pretty much the same reason we put gaiters on off-road bikes, to protect the fork seals. Now, okay, you can't go online and just search Honda CB1300 fork gaiters and have them sent to you, because no such thing exists, because Honda already fit a fork protector shield like we see on so many ordinary road bikes, one of these. Just a little plastic shield that guards the bottom 2 inches of the chrome stanchion. But these are really pointless if the weather's really bad, because the dirt isn't just restricted to there. The fork moves more than that much. You're going to get crud build up here, and that bit will go in through the fork seal. I guarantee it. And you can measure that and see it for yourself. So I made some measurements. I measured the slider, 43mm. I measured the stanchion there, 65mm. I took those two dimensions and applied them to a gaiter, and that's 63mm. That's 43mm, and that should fit perfectly. Also, there's another measurement you need to take. That is the height that you need, because you don't want them too short to fill that gap, and also you don't want them so long, the gaiters that is, that when the forks compress, they all buckle up and they stop the forks moving. They've got to be the right length range, and there's an easy way to measure that. Like I've already said, you pop a cable tie round the fork leg and lift the wheel off the ground so that the fork is fully extended, and then push that cable tie all the way down onto the top of the dust seal. And then put the bike back on the ground and push the forks in, lunge them in as far as you can, and that cable tie will come up and it will give you the full sweep of movement on your forks. And then you know you need to buy a fork gaiter that fits into that gap at rest, so that when the forks are fully extended, it's not stretching up so much it pops off, and when they're fully compressed, it's not getting in the way and stopping the forks moving. Use a bit of common sense, do all the measuring and buy the right ones. All right, easiest thing in the world to fit. First thing you've got to do is take this plastic factory shield off, and they're literally pushed on. So fingernails underneath, and just wiggle them up, and they'll come off quite easily without any tools. And do the other one. Now, you don't need instructions on how to fit a fork leg, you just slip them over the top, don't you? Well, there is a little bit of something to it. If you look really closely at your fork gaiter, round one side only of the bottom skirt of the fork gaiter, there are 4 little drain holes, and it's important to orientate those to the back of the fork leg, because as the fork slants, they will be lowermost, so any moisture that gets inside will drain out those holes at the back. Now, one more final point, I'm sure this is just common sense. That's a dry rubber gaiter going over a dry fork leg. So a little bit of silicone-based lubricant inside the gaiter so it slips over without dragging, and it will glide up and down nicely when it's in use. Now, these particular universal gaiters came with a couple of shiny stainless steel Jubilee clips to clip them on, but that's proper ugly and cheap looking. I've got a better solution than that, and we'll do that once they're fitted on the bike. Perfect. Right, you've got a little rubber lip on the inside there, like a little hard edge, and it fits into that little ridge there, snaps in nicely. There. Right, that's the practical part done. Now let's do the decorative part, and for that I need to demonstrate it with the fork in the bike. And I'll just nip it on the top pinch bolt. Just to hold it. Right, now the next bit I wanted to deal with was this section in here. Now if you know your Harley Davidsons and you've got a Harley that's a bit customised, you might have already seen this particular accessory. It's something that's available on all the Harley Davidson accessory catalogues. Simply put, it's a steel tube that's about the same thickness as the yokes themselves. You take the top yoke off, you slide this black powder coated steel tube over the top of this exposed piece of fork leg, you nip it in with a grub screw that's on the inside, you put your top yoke back on, and your forks look fat and chunky at the top, much as they do at the bottom with the Gators, and it makes all of your fork leg look chunky. Purely decorative, but a very common accessory in all the catalogues, for Harleys at least. So how to find some for a CB1300? Well, it's not likely, is it? They're not going to be in a catalogue just by chance, exactly the right size, and they're a lot of money anyway. I want to do it a bit cheaper because it's a bit of fun and a bit of an experiment to see if it looks any good. So I came up with this. Now, it's not a piece of steel, it's actually a 500mm chunk of black silicone radiator hose, and I got it from a performance car website for a fraction of the price of the accessory parts, and I can experiment with it and have a bit of fun. All I've got to do is cut it to the right length. Let's go. Right, the gap is precisely 224mm. 224. Right, little trick. When you want to cut something absolutely level, take a piece of paper and wrap it round it. And as you wrap it round, when it comes back round on itself and overlaps with itself, if you line up that overlap perfectly, then that's dead level and you can cut on that line. There we are. Simple and dead accurate. Now that is absolutely square with the other end. All I've got to do now, slice it. Fresh razor blade. Straight in there. There. Dead level. Perfect. There. Perfect. There we are. How easy was that? Now we've got to do, slip the fork leg out, pop that in, and push the fork leg up through it, and it's fitted. Right, that's the forks in. They're just held on the bottom yoke at the minute because I've left the top pinch bolts loose so I can tighten up the fork caps, then do the top pinch bolts, then install the rest of the front end. Then we can take a stand back look. They're fat, chunky forks for less than £40. What's not to like? And practical too when the winter comes. Now, obviously, this little bit at the top is artistic expression. That's all it is. It's a bit of nonsense because it looks good. Fat, chunky, upside down looking forks without the massive expense. And of course, if we can't have a little bit of artistic expression in this life, don't you think it becomes a grey old world, eh? Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.